Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to this visual arts department specific info session. We're just going to get right down to it. I'm joined by the visual arts chair, Sherry Bond. Thank you so much, Sherry, for being with us.
Hi,
And
everyone.
oh, please say hello, Sherry.
Hello. Hello, everyone from Los Angeles. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles. As
So
you
we
can
got
tell from Forest.
that's right. Your beautiful forest background. We love it. So we have a short presentation for you. Just going to talk about the program. We're going to talk about the application. And then if you have a question, go ahead and pop that in the chat after the slide presentation. We will answer all of your burning questions. And let's just get rolling. So this is the visual arts program. You have an option of a first and second choice for your disciplines. The disciplines are drawing, ceramics, digital media, painting, printmaking, photography, and sculpture. Your required courses are figure drawing, arts and culture, and the studio courses. And then for personal development, visual arts students explore a variety of media and concepts that best expresses themselves. Anything to add, Sherry?
No, I think that covers it.
Wonderful. So you're going to be getting a lot of experience, a lot of studio time, a lot of time to work on your art. So let's get into these assignments. So for visual arts assignment A, you're going to choose any issue that interests you. It's going to be personal, social, political, something that really speaks to you. You'll use any materials, techniques, and processes that work best to express your views on the chosen issue. And you'll upload an explanation of your work in a separate document. We're interested in how you communicate your viewpoint through this work of art. Anything to add, Sherry?
Yeah, I'd say this one's probably about you looking out at the world,
Hmm,
thinking of those sort of topics that interest you, that sort of speak to your place or your environment, the world in general.
I love that. Looking out.
Yeah, looking out.
Wonderful. All right, that's assignment A. For assignment B, you're going to create an original work that reflects who you are. You're going to choose materials and techniques that best express your ideas. And in this assignment, we're looking for your own unique interpretation and artistic choices. Anything to add, Sherry?
Yeah, so this one maybe you could say would be looking in. So,
Ooh, I see a theme. Wonderful.
like this is where we really get to see all about you and where your place in the world.
Wonderful. We got looking out, and now we got looking in. All right. And then for assignment C, you're going to choose a piece of your artwork that you feel best demonstrates your technical skill and understanding of your favorite medium. In this assignment, we want to see that you have potential to succeed in CSSSA's intensive program, because it's a college prep program. You're going to be working really hard. You're going to receive college credit from your experience at CSSSA. So anything else to add, Sherry?
I think, like for all of them, we sort of look at how you handle the material, the medium, but this one will really sort of be looking at the rendering sort of aspect, your technical sort of chop, so to speak, how you handle the tool that you sort of choose to demonstrate in this assignment. See?
And then last, for returning students, if there are any returning students on this Zoom or who are interested in coming back and having another summer at CSSSA, you're going to submit a one-page essay, 150 words or less, stating your reasons for wishing to return to CSSSA. You're going to explain your learning objectives for a second summer experience, why do you want to come back to CSSSA? What do you hope to gain? What do you have to give to the community? And then this is a very important point. All assignments must be new and show your growth since you attended CSSSA in a previous year. Anything to
I
add?
think the application process in general is very competitive. So those spaces that we look for potential returning students are very limited. So really take that new and original sort of prompt to heart. not sort of looking for, sort of your class sort of examples or work, or particularly things that you might have created from previous CSSSA sessions, but really sort of how you've grown and sort of become more sophisticated in your art making process.
Yeah, we are encouraging of students returning, but like Sherry said, it's, a more competitive environment because, we want to make sure that all students have access to these programs. And if you are returning and having another summer at CSA, you're potentially taking a spot away from somebody who hasn't had a summer. So again, we want to know why, what are your learning objectives? What do you have to offer? And why do you want to come back? So that's it for the slide presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, and then let's dig into some of these questions. I'm going to spotlight Sherry and myself, and then I'm going to dig into the chat here. I already see a question. We have a question here. Are you able to share how many students typically apply and how many of those are accepted?
Application in general, I think, varies. Could be 600, 700, 800 sort of applicants that we have to go through. Visual arts program is the largest for CSSA. We get typical year might be anywhere ranging from about 155 to 165 students, I think, in visual arts.
We have another question in the chat that's asking, can I submit sketchbook of drawings?
Yes, we do typically see, sketchbook submissions. Mostly for the prompt of C, because it sort of goes over their more technical sort of aspect. But yes, it's possible. Drawing is one of our options. It's actually new this year for a first choice selection. So if that's your medium and you sort of use your sketchbook, seems applicable.
Great. Another question here in the chat. Do we get into one of the studio art classes we request on our application?
So typical sort of schedule for visual arts, we have classes that run for 4 days a week. All the classes except for the art and culture lecture series runs 3 hours a day. So we have a course that we essentially refer to as our major course. It's your major sort of area of concentration because you meet the most sessions per week in that area. And so the first in choice that you're selecting in your application process is where I look to sort of schedule you within that area. So when you're choosing your first or second choice, you want to make sure that one of those 2 areas is what you really would like to concentrate on. The reason why we have 2 choices is because of the size of the program. It's not always possible to give everybody their first choice. So the second choice is like your backup choice. If for whatever reason, I'm not able to give you a major concentration in that area, at least you have your second choice to fall back on as that one course that you'll take for 4 days a week. And then all of the other studio courses go for 2 days a week. So they're more like minor concentration. So you take them sort of half the amount of time in your 4 weeks there. So you have your one major, and then you have 4 other classes that you'll take as minors, one of which is figure drawing, since everybody takes that. And then you'll have 3 other sort of minor 2-day-a-week classes in some other studio art that you'll be scheduled into. If it's at all possible, if you get your first choice, I'll schedule one of your minors as your second choice, and then I choose your 2 other studio minors for you to kind of round out your experience at CSSA, so that everybody kind of gets a little sampling of both 2D and 3D sort of experience during your time with us.
Wonderful. Does this include digital art for any materials in the application?
Well, digital media is one of our choices. So if that is an area of interest for you and you work sort of in the digital genre, you should sort of, submit an example of that. I think that's what the question means.
And also for assignment C specifically, does it have to align with the department that you want to go to? So if this person really wants painting, does assignment C have to be a painting?
I think that if you're going to choose digital media or painting, because they're our two most popular areas, you probably should think about including an example of that within your application. But there are other areas like ceramics and sculpture, printmaking that aren't really offered in high school education anymore. And so I wouldn't want someone who's interested in that area to be excluded from selecting that. So it's not necessary that assignment C sort of reflect your first or second choice of interest.
Great. And are your students more traditional artists or more modern / conceptual artists?
I'd say for the majority of them more traditional. That's the sort of educational background they're coming from. That's certainly not to say that that's where we come from in visual arts at CSSSA. Sort of more broadens the scope of where you're coming from in your previous experiences, and hopefully giving you a more sort of idea of what it's like in college as a sort of studying art for sort of 4-year educational experience.
Wonderful. And you did mention the answer to this question. How many spots are there for visual artists? You said 150.
Yeah, it sort of varies, let's say, from 150 to 165 usually.
Wonderful. And are you able to share like a sample sample schedule or timetable for like the painting major?
So if you're a painting major, you would, like I said, if it was your sort of area of concentration, you would have that class for 4 days a week. So class sessions are 3 hours each. So let's say you have painting in the morning. So you would have painting from 9 to noon, Monday through Thursday. We take lunch from 12 to 1. And then your afternoon classes, if you're taking a major in the morning, you would have maybe, let's say, figure drawing on Monday and Tuesday, and then maybe a studio class on Wednesday and Thursday. So let's say it's photography. And then we have a class on Friday and Saturday that goes morning and afternoon as well too on both of those days. So let's say that's sculpture. And then we also have something that's called open studios, which is time when you're sort of assigned areas, classrooms are open for you to go in and get some extra work done if you are so inclined, need to catch up on something, or you're just really engaged and want to spend more time than what the scheduled classes allow. Those are optional and kind of schedule your time around other things you might want to do at CSSSA. And so Open Studios runs 6 to 9 on Monday through Thursday, and then we have a Saturday afternoon Open Studio slot for those Friday and Saturday classes.
Wonderful. And if they're going for painting, this person wants to know how many pieces should they submit?
I'd say at least one. If painting is your sort of major sort of main area of expertise, and that's all you have to submit, then you can submit 3 paintings.
Great.
But if you're going for painting or digital media, I'd say at least one of them needs to be from that area.
Wonderful. Do you accept a certain number of people from each grade, or is every age the same in the category for admission? Or like, does it vary, or do you try
It does
to?
vary.
Okay, perfect.
I'd say that the majority of the students typically coming in are from the 10th and 11th grade, just sort of how it works out. And then there's a sort of handful of younger and older. So that would be 9th and 12th grade, right?
Until 12. Does returning students applying to or the returning students portion of this application apply to students who were not in visual arts before?
I believe so, yes.
I would say whether or not you were in the visual arts program, you would talk about, if you weren't in visual arts, you would talk about the program you were in. And again, you would still explain what your learning objectives were and why you want to return. This question asks that there are certain, you've heard that there are schools that give scholarships to students who are involved in CSSSA. How do you know if these scholarships are chosen at random or do you apply to them? I can answer this one. Just go to the CSSSA Foundation website and it will tell you, it will give you a list of schools that the CSSSA Foundation partners with that will offer CSSSA alumni scholarships if they are invited to attend those schools. Here's another visual arts question. On the application, it says we have to demonstrate the medium of the studio class we're applying to. This person would like to try printmaking, but have no prints that they could put in their application. Would drawings be sufficient to get into printmaking?
Exactly. I did, like printmaking is one of those areas that isn't sort of offered in your sort of high schools. And so if that's an area of interest, drawing is definitely something that I would look to as an area to make sure that you're sort of on par sort of with a major in printmaking. So drawing is a perfect example of what to submit.
Great. And can you submit 2 pieces of work for any of the assignments?
I think that is no. I think a lot of it has to do with the application itself. I would say if the work is somehow specific to a kind of serial aspect, that you might want to figure out a way within the one file submission to show the multiple aspect of that. But typically, I believe the instructions for the application submissions are that it has to be one.
Great. And for the requirement that that our slide presentation mentioned, this person is asking if, actually, I'm going to ask this other person to clarify this before I ask. I'm going to go on to another question. Is there going to be an info session about the writing department? Sorry, I can answer this one. There already was one, and it's on a recorded version of it is on the CSSSA Foundation, the CSSSA and CSSSA Foundation YouTube, so you can go check that out there. Here's another visual arts question. Is it only 3 drawings that we are submitting, or are there more that we need to submit?
Well, there's 3 assignments. I don't think that they have to be drawings for each one. I'm a little unclear on the question.
Yeah, Isabella, if you could clarify, unless you're asking if each of the assignments that you're submitting, each of the 3 have to be drawings. And if that's the answer, or if that's the question.
That would be no.
Great. Another question is, when will we find out if we got in or not? You'll be notified via email, middle to end of April or early May. And it is noteworthy that you should, on the application, you should use an email that's maybe a personal email and not a school email. Some schools tend to block emails that come from outside organizations. So you want to make sure you give us an email that won't block any of our communication with you. Here's another one for assignment C. Is it okay to make a collage of technical pieces and turn it into one piece?
I think that usually I see that a lot with drawings. So if there's particularly from sketchbooks, like when they render like the hand or different aspects of the figure, I see that a lot in collage form, which is okay to do. I wouldn't submit an original collage piece as the technical aspect. I would sort of reserve that assignment C section for more about your sort of rendering abilities. Also, it's best if it's a drawing or a painting, if it's more about your sort of perception and not a copy of something.
Great. I've got a couple of oil paint questions here. Will we be able to use oil paint in the painting class, or is it just acrylic?
The painting class, all the painting classes use just acrylic, sometimes watercolor, but mostly the material is acrylic. There isn't any oil-based aspect. Printmaking uses, doesn't do screen printing, so it's more like monotype, tintypes, and things like that. Photography is both digital and analog, so they work with film. Ceramics obviously is clay. trying to think, digital media sort of covers the sort of three main Adobe sort of suite software of Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. I think that's it, all of them. Sculpture is sort of a variety of found objects, wood, cast, mold making, plaster, sometimes fabric.
And if somebody wanted to bring their own oil paint to use, would that be allowed?
There will be sort of instructions on things that you can and cannot bring with you to CSSSA, so I would definitely look at those instructions. We try and sort of keep the classroom spaces because of safety issues and whatnot to the materials that are provided.
Hmm. And if you don't get in the first year you apply, are you able to apply again next year?
Yes.
Absolutely. And does the write-up only reflect the student's thoughts on the first assignment, or would you like to hear about the other submissions in the write-up as well?
I think if you want to write up, sort of include some information about all three, certainly fine. I believe there's just the one prompt that asks for something written.
Great. This person wants to know if GPA or essays are required, and I can answer that. No, we're not looking at your grades. The only writing you're going to have to do is writing about the pieces or the piece that you submitted. We have another question here in the chat. If this person is applying for painting, will they only do painting the whole course, or will there be other art skills implemented in the painting? Or painting major?
A lot of that depends on the faculty. They all have their sort of individual sort of perspectives on projects and whatnot, but for the painting classes, I mean, it's usually just painting. You might be doing some sort of sketches of things and collage works to sort of build compositions on, but the sort of main sort of final pieces are just paint.
And is there a limited number of people you accept from a single school?
We do try and sort of keep a sort of diverse outlook on various areas of California, so it's not just focused on one aspect. I'm not so much looking at the counting numbers by the school locations. It's more about the applications, submissions.
Cool. This next person asks if this info session is being recorded, and yes, it is being recorded. We will post it tomorrow morning on the CSSSA YouTube page. So if there is somebody who missed and you would like to send it to them, you can do it tomorrow morning. Here's another question about paint. Yes, actually about paint. Do the painting submissions need to be done with actual paint, or can the coloring be done with markers, watercolors, colored pencils, etc.?
No, that's fine. Pastels, whatever, right, sort of material that you have on hand is certainly acceptable.
Here's a digital media question. Does digital media cover, digital media covers a lot of different disciplines. Would you say that it's more focused on digital drawing or tech things like Photoshop?
It's not a computer illustration class. Certainly, if you have that interest, it can be brought into it. I'd say it's mostly akin to, let's say, more graphic design based. You do sort of make physical things within the class besides prints. Sometimes there might be buttons or books that you're sort of making with the things that you create on the computer.
And is there specific software that you use for that class?
It's Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign.
Great. And where does craftsmanship fit into the review process?
I'd say, I mean, I do sort of look at that on all three submissions, but definitely if you think about the technical sort of assignment number C prompt is where I'll sort of be evaluating your sort of handling of the medium, which I think is what the question is asking.
And what about relatively graphic or abstract works of art? Do do you ask people to stay away from more abstract stuff, or are you open to
I would say one, at least one should be more representational, sort of crafted from optics, your vision, your rendering of the real world.
This question is just nailing down the application process. They're asking, do they need to submit 3 artworks, or do they need to submit 3 different artworks for each assignment? It's only 1 artwork per assignment, right, Sherry?
Correct. They should be different pieces.
Different pieces. So in total, 3.
Three works.
Yes, 3 works.
They don't have to all be of the same medium or different mediums, but they should be 3 different compositions, pieces.
And if somebody is going for photo, how many photos per artistic assignment?
Again, 3, unless it's really a serial piece. The problem is that you don't want it to be a sort of series of works that makes it so small that I can't see the submission. But think about uploading 1 file per assignment prompt.
Wonderful. And there are a few questions that talk about experience level. Some students want to know if they can take a class in the medium they have little experience in. So if somebody is interested in digital media, but they've never done it before, does that affect their chances?
It does in some respect of areas that are very popular. So it does come into play when we're sort of looking at the applications. But if you've never sort of worked with, let's say, sculpture, and that's an area that you choose, we sort of look at the rosters of students that sort of get accepted, and the class sort of enters into it in a sort of introductory fashion for beginners.
And is there any animation involved in the digital media course?
No.
Great. And then this question I'll answer. Do we get college credit for completing the course? You get college credit for completing CSSSA as a whole. You get those 3 college credits, and they transfer over to a California State college or university. For the writing piece that they submit, do they submit it in the JPEG form?
I think the upload for the application is like a Word or PDF document. It's a different button that you submit, separate than the JPEG is for the image upload for the artwork part, I believe.
If somebody's applying to digital media, is it okay that that they don't use Photoshop at all, that they use like an iPad with an Apple Pencil to draw digitally?
Yes.
Wonderful. And for the drawing major, what kind of materials would they be using in those classes?
I mean, a lot of it depends on the instructor and what supplies they order. It's going to vary, from graphite to other material.
Right. And
It's more like I would say the figure drawing class is more sort of charcoal based for the most part. They do some washes and whatnot, but it's like a traditional figure drawing sort of course. The actual drawing studio course can get a little bit more experimental as well. Sort of think a bit about sort of that's your sort of interest as a studio practice. So learning to express, so sort of your creative endeavors through the drawing medium. So it could be also more collage based of different sort of aspects of drawing potential.
And can you repeat how many minor classes are students allowed to take, and how much time do they get in these minor classes?
So your schedule in total consists of 5 classes, one of which is the art and culture class. So you have 1 major class that meets 4 days a week, and then 3 minor courses, one of which is figure drawing. And the major class is over the 4 weeks, meets for 16 class sessions, and the minor classes meet for half of that, eight class sessions. So we have classes that meet Monday through Saturday.
Do you consider out-of-state students at all?
We do, yes. And I know they have a limit on the number that CSSSA can accept, but we do tend to get, a handful of out-of-state applications that we consider.
And if you're submitting a painting, is it okay if that painting is watercolor?
Yes.
Wonderful. There have been a few questions to clarify something on the website, which is you asked that students don't select painting and digital media for like their first and second choice, and it's only for painting and digital media, right? None of the other courses.
Yeah, usually it's the one that we get the most applicants for, and then we have the least amount of space to accept students into. And so we sort of suggest that because it can potentially limit, your acceptance at, ratio, let's say.
So if you're interested in drawing, you can go for painting and drawing. You can go for digital media and drawing. It's just try not to request painting and digital media. What mediums do you use in the drawing discipline? Is it mixed media or only pencil? I think you just answered this question.
Mixed media.
Mixed media. Okay. What are you looking for in the applications? Are there any do's and don'ts?
Do's or don't. I actually had a response to this and now it's flown out of my brain. Might have to think on that one. Let's see. I would say follow the directions for sure.
Mhm.
You don't want to sort of miss something that would cause an application to be incomplete, where we couldn't fully judge whether or not you're suited for the program. I would say originality is something that we look for the most, sort of speaking from your own voice, submitting works that are unique to you rather than examples that you might have copied from media, movies, photographs. So your sort of a unique perspective on the material, your own interests. Is
Well,
that good? Yeah.
good enough for me. What about somebody who's interested in architecture and design? Would the visual arts program be useful for them if they want to go in those fields?
Yeah, I would say you want to look at sculpture, because it does sort of think about objects in space. Could be a good sort of reflection to architecture. Drawing would be another, sort of good skill to sort of have if that's your area of interest.
Right. And same question for somebody who's thinking about graphic design.
I would say yes, and digital media and probably printmaking are the two sort of areas that are most akin to graphic design. If you think about students that are in college right now in graphic design, those are the two areas that they sort of gravitate towards in the classes that they take.
And if somebody gets into digital media, will they be provided with the softwares needed to do the course?
So we supply everything that you'll need to complete the coursework projects for your entire schedule.
Great. And if somebody is going for ceramics and they can't get enough time in their ceramics classroom to do, ceramics for all 3 assignments, can just one assignment be ceramics and the other assignments be a different medium?
If you're in a ceramics course within your schedule, the projects will all need to be completed based off of their instructions.
Oh,
If you're a little bit of a, like everybody sort of has their own sort of speed that they work on things. And so if for some reason your scheduled class time isn't sufficient to complete what you need to, we have open studios are available in all of your studio classes that you can go and spend extra time in.
and if the person, I interpreted this question as they were wanting to make all of their assignments for the application
Oh,
ceramic,
I see.
but if they don't have time to do that, can they just submit one and then?
Sorry, I misunderstood. I'm already thinking to the summer.
This is good information. This is good information.
Yes, you can. One is fine.
Oh, this is an interesting question. What is something that you see lacking in applications that you review?
I don't know. They're so varied. It's hard to say. Everybody has, different. It's like a different sort of pool of things every year. It's hard to say what they're lacking.
Hmm. Um, so for the third piece, for assignment C, can they use a finished piece of art, or should it be more like sketches or in process?
I think you should pick the piece that you think shows your technical ability to the best, whether it's finished or not.
And for drawing or painting, are you looking for submissions that are drawn or painted from life, or can they be drawn or painted from a photo?
I'd say from life would be a sort of stronger submission.
Right. And
I'm not say that we don't get both, but sort of going back to that sort of unique perspective aspect sort of shows more about yourself and your ability.
right. And can you give us the approximate start and end time of each day?
So the class begins at 9 a.m. And then you have lunch from 12 to 1. And then the afternoon class ends at 4, except for art and culture sort of goes on 2 days a week that are an hour after that. So let's say 5:15. Dinner sort of between 5 and 7, I believe. Open studios run 6 to 9, but those are optional, not required that you attend every day. We don't have anything that goes after 9.
And if somebody is going to submit a sketchbook, should they use it for a drawing assignment? Maybe would you like more clarification?
Maybe.
Yeah, the person who submitted that question, can you clarify a little bit? Can you talk about where, like, how close in proximity the different majors will be, or different classes will be? Will they run into each other, ceramics, painting, all of that?
You'll probably run into each other in the various classes that you take. The classrooms themselves are spread out all over campus. So, it's a very sort of small campus comparatively, but we take up the most sort of footprint, let's say. So they're on all 4 floors and even on some of the bungalows that are outside of the main area. So you'll see each other in the hallways and the dorms and at meal times.
Right. Yeah. Lots of time for you to be commingling and running into each other.
Everybody, your art and culture, it's the one class that everybody's in at the same time. So you'll see each other and when you're looking at exhibitions as well too, which all the classes have opportunities to show the work that you're creating throughout the session in our sort of 6 gallery exhibition spaces that we run throughout the session.
Right. And does how early you submit your application have any effect on whether or not you get in?
I don't see any of the application materials until after the due date. And it all comes to me.
Great. If 3D wood is your medium, what area would you suggest applying to?
Sculpture.
Wonderful. If one wants to pursue animation, which class would be beneficial? I would say the animation program.
Animation program.
There's no animating in visual arts, unfortunately.
Drawing is, I think, prized in animation. So,
Great.
you know, that would be an area to sort of look into, but you won't get any experience in animation in visual arts.
If somebody is applying for painting and drawing, do they have to submit art pieces in those categories for all of the assignments?
For all of the assignments, no. But again, if you're submitting painting as one of your first or second choices, one of your submissions should be painting.
Wonderful. Digging into the chat here. I'm just trying to keep the questions to visual arts focused. There's some more general questions, more student life questions in here. We're doing another info session that's just more general information about CSSSA on the 22nd. So that would be a great one to tune into and ask these kind of student life questions. So I'm just gonna keep it visual arts focused for now. Okay, here's a good question. Are we allowed to explore different mediums during open studio time?
Because the materials are ordered specific for class projects, there's not really an opportunity to go in and sort of explore an open studio area that is not in your schedule. It's not to say that people don't come around and visit to see what everybody's up to, but as far as actually working in that area, it has to be part of your schedule.
Yes. And just for clarification, if you're interested in both digital media and drawing, you are able to pick both of those or request both of those, but it's digital media and painting.
Right. So typically what happens, the reason why that's prompt is there is because chances are if you select digital media and drawing or digital media and painting, because their space is limited in those areas, you will get one class within that area, and then that leaves open for me to choose three. So it could be that your three minors are something that you didn't expect that you would get. So if you choose digital media and drawing or digital media and painting, chances are you only get one of those classes.
And for drawing, is it more experimental drawing or is it more technical drawing?
I think it's going to be a mix. The figure drawing for sure that everybody takes is more technical drawing. But the drawing studio course sort of broadens it up from that. It's not about the figure per se. But
is there any interdisciplinary opportunities for visual artists in the program, working with other disciplines or working with each other?
we do there are usually a few events that happen that are cross programs. Thinking about the Art Advocacy Day in particular. It varies from year to year depending on guest artists, and there's not anything that is on the boards that I know that I could speak to at this moment.
And are they allowed to do more artwork after 9 p.m.?
The studio classes that close, so they won't be available for use. I know that there's limiting factors of what you can have in the dorms to be able to work on things, and I would refer to the student handbook on that.
Are there any trends that you see within the applications, more specifically painting? Are there trends that you see? Nice. Does 3D modeling count as sculpture?
3D modeling, digital 3D modeling? That's what, no. Sculpture refers to objects in space, so physical things. We don't do any kind of computer rendering within the sculpture program or sculpture classes.
And are there specific abilities that you want to see for people going for drawing?
Say technical ability and thinking outside of your traditional exercises that you might have experienced in classes. So really wanting, you know, like a more broad, developed sort of composition of work.
We have another question that asks, could one of the pieces that they submit be a class assignment if it best represents their skill?
Yes.
Great. Another question is asking for more of the difference between drawing and painting classes. Are the drawing students not allowed to paint? Like, do they have to stay within their medium?
They'll have to, in the class specific, if we're talking about what it's like when you're in the class at CSSSA, you're limited to the materials that are on hand. And so painting sort of will, for the majority, be paint, you know, so the application of paint on canvas. Drawing will sort of, it could involve paint, but it's going to be more sort of paper, works on paper in that aspect. And it will probably be a higher concentration in things like pastel and charcoal and graphite.
And for assignment C, is it okay to include studies of artworks?
So similar to the collage question.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, Benjamin, can you clarify a little bit what studies of artworks means?
I think it's probably in the same avenue of the collaging together technical aspects in one piece,
Okay.
which is a yes to that.
Yes to that. Is pen used as well in drawing?
Can be, yes.
Great. If somebody is applying for painting, should they submit drawings? Is it okay to submit paintings for all 3 assignments?
No, it's okay to submit paintings for all 3 assignments.
All right, I'm coming to the end of some of these visual arts questions. Oh, we got another one. Okay, so Benjamin is clarifying a little bit more. So not like collage, but technically observing a painting or a drawing by a professional artist and then sketching or drawing it by yourself.
I would say I would probably lean towards direct observation as opposed to sort of rendering a copy. We really do sort of look for a unique type of vision in the applications. And so if you're just sort of copying something that's someone else's work, doesn't sort of speak to that. And so I would avoid that if possible.
And what area might be best for someone who specializes in watercolor?
I would say the painting major.
Great. Is it better for your application that you showcase multiple styles and mediums, or is it okay to stick to one main style?
It's okay to stick to one main style. I would, you know, like think about your application. You want to choose your best works. And so there's not really one way to answer that question. Whatever you think best represents you. If it's all of the same style or medium, then that's what you should submit.
And is sketching digitally count as digital media or sketching/drawing?
It can count for either.
Great. Any more visual arts questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat. And if you have any more general CSSSA questions, join one of our info sessions that are happening. There's one on the 22nd, and then we have some that we've done in the past on our YouTube channel, so you can go check those out as well. We have another visual arts question. Can I submit a comic for digital media?
Yes.
Great.
You think about it, sort of speaks to your um, ability to sort of communicate story, narrative. The question about the difference between digital media and drawing, think about if you're interested in sort of working in a graphic sense on designs that get produced in logos and whatnot, then digital media is the sort of area that you are most in line with. Drawing is about works on paper. So if you're there's no digital aspect to drawing in the classroom at CSSSA. So if you're interested about using that tool to create works on paper, and sort of that drawing would be that area for you.
And can you submit painting for the assignments, but still apply for sculpture?
Yes.
Great. And oh, sorry, let me go back. Are the art styles that you learn more geared towards realism, or are they more abstract?
It varies. I mean, if you think about the projects that the sort of instructors hand out, everybody has their own individual perspective. Like you're not being asked to create the same sort of thing visually. You might get a prompt about a certain sort of aspect or idea, and then everybody sort of approaches that within their own interest and expressive nature. So the works vary greatly in the classroom.
Can you describe the expectations of the design courses in more detail?
We don't have any design courses.
Oh, wonderful.
Certainly the fundamentals and aspects of design come in all the mediums that you might find within your schedule, but we don't have a class that's specifically about design anymore.
Great. And by any circumstances, are there people that do end up taking both painting and digital media?
Very rare, but
Great.
I mean, a lot of it depends on the number of accepts, but certainly possible, but rare.
And are the students asked to do certain assignments, or like in the classes, or could students do their own choice but get instructions from teachers?
It varies from class to class. It's all based off of the instructor's kind of syllabus and what they plan out for the class. I would say the majority of them are sort of idea based within their projects. So they're certainly open to interpretation within that, but you're usually following certain instructions in that regard.
And roughly how much experience would you say most applicants have or need to have?
Varied. Definitely varied.
Mm. And do you know who the instructors will be this summer?
No. Some. We're still hiring.
Right. That they will specialize in all of the mediums that.
Yes. They're professional, right, practicing artists within the medium that they teach the classes in.
Great. Will CISA help you develop a portfolio for college applications?
Sure. Yes. I mean, it's a sort of accelerated college course in visual arts. And so it's more akin to what it's like in studying art rather than like a summer camp. It's not really that. It's, you're scheduled. It's like a fast paced, intense, right, sort of experience within visual arts. So you'll improve and expand, right, your abilities and have lots of opportunities to show work in college application.
Can you talk about the age range of students? Is it mostly juniors and seniors, or does it really vary?
I would say the majority of the students are within, let's say, 15 to 17 years of age. Most of them are coming into, was that sophomore and junior year?
I would say kind of like CSSSA as a whole, the majority of the student body are 15, 16 juniors, yeah, sophomores, juniors. But we, try to spread it around to have a variety of different age groups. Um, this will be our last question, and then we'll close it out. Do people with no experience get admitted to the program?
Well, they have to have some sort of visual aspect, right? So some in their application, but the experience does vary greatly because the sort of experience across California varies, right?
Mhm.
Sort of what resources and experience, educational classes that students have across the country varies. And so that's what our program looks like as well. So
Great. I'm just going to answer this last question and then close it out. There's a question about recommendation letters. We don't require recommendation letters. We just require references from a teacher, an educator. It could be a professional artist that you know, a mentor. And you're just going to provide us with their name and their email. Should we have questions about your application, we'll contact them. Though not everyone will be contacted, and you won't have to ask them for a recommendation letter, just somebody that can provide a reference for you. Thank you so much, Sherry, for answering all these wonderful questions and being here with us. And thank you, everybody who's been on the Zoom. Like I said, a recorded version of this will be on YouTube tomorrow morning, and we hope everybody applies to visual arts.
I hope I helped at least a little.
You helped so much answering all these great questions. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Have a
night.
nice night.
Bye.